In today's episode, we'll be speedrunning a camera iris icon and a puzzle piece icon. I'll start by creating them as quickly as I can, and then I'll go through both icons step by step, discussing all the techniques used. And now it's time to create a camera iris icon. And one thing you may notice about this icon is it has 6 pieces that are essentially the same shape. They're just rotated around the center. And this is often referred to as radial symmetry. In this instance, what we'll do is we'll try and create this top piece up here, and then we'll just rotate that to create the rest of the icon. And the way we can do that is by starting with the rectangle tool, and just draw out a rectangle that is 16 pixels wide by 5 pixels high. In the speedrun, I do that a little bit differently. I just create it from the center, which ends up meaning it needs to be 6 pixels high, because every time you're drawing something from the center, you end up with even width and even height dimensions, rather than, you can't create a rectangle that is 5 pixels high. Okay, so now we have this rectangle in place, and what we can do is now rotate it to try and create this edge. So if you grab the rotate tool and then option click on the center of the icon area, so hold down option, click in the middle, and that'll bring up the rotate window. And from here we can type in the angle we want to rotate by. In this case, it's 360 divided by six blades in the iris, which is 60. And from here, we just click copy or hold down option and press enter. That'll create a copy. And now what we need to do is offset a little bit so we end up with gaps. If we didn't do this, it would all be joined together. And probably the easiest way to do that is to go to Object, Path, Offset Path. And I'm going to make this 0.5 of a pixel, so half a pixel. And you could make it wider or smaller if you want, depending on how large you want the gaps to be. But just type in 0.5 and then click OK. And then what we need to do is grab the ellipse tool and just start drawing an ellipse from the very center of the icon area, and hold down option to create from the center and shift to constrain, so we end up with a circle from the center. And just drag it out so it's 1 pixel off the edge of the icon area. And now we've actually done most of the work, even though it looks like a mess. If you just grab the selection tool and just drag out a marquee selection, what you'll notice is that all these shapes overlapping have ended up with the final shape we'd like up here. It's made from a whole bunch of different shapes though. So what we need to do is grab the Pathfinder panel. And one of the really useful pathfinders that I use all the time is divide. So it's just down here. And what that will do is it'll break up all of the selection into the various different components. So if you just click divide, and the result of that will be grouped. So we'll have to ungroup it. So object, ungroup. And from there, this is now all broken up into various different parts. So what we need to do is either drag out a marquee selection to select everything, and then shift click on the portion we actually want to keep. And then from there you can press delete and you'll just be left with the part you want to keep. Or another way to do it is to obviously just go through and select the parts you don't want, but that's a lot slower. So I usually just draw out a marquee and then hold down shift, click the bit I want. You don't really notice what's going on, but if you're doing it, you understand what's happening and it becomes second nature. And then from there you can just delete and you'll end up with just the portion that we're after. So this is the shape that we needed to now create the final six blades. So once again, if we grab the rotate tool and then option click once again in the center, and it should already have the settings we last used, which is exactly what we're after in this case. So you just have to click copy or press option and enter. And there we go. We now have 2 of these, but we want to keep going. So the way to do that would be object, transform, transform again. And you just have to keep doing that a few times. So transform again, transform again, transform again. There we go. Now we have the final icon. And the great thing about this technique is it works with any number of blades. So we could actually try this again and just create it from there. And this time we might try 5, so 360 divided by 5, and then copy, and then we'll do the offset path again, and there we go. Then the pathfinder, and the same technique works with 5 or 6 or 7 or however many you want. And now it's time to create a puzzle piece icon. We'll start this one by grabbing the polygon tool and just creating a polygon 3 pixels in from the right-hand side, and just drag it out to have a radius of 5 pixels. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And with the mouse button still held down, we're actually after a square, rotated square in this instance. So your polygon tool may be set up for a hexagon or something like that. You can push the up and down arrow keys to change the number of sides. So you just want it to keep pressing down until you get to 4. And then what we need to do is just grab the direct selection tool and select this rightmost point of the square and drag it all the way past the center, just 1 pixel past the center. Then get the rectangle tool and draw a 4 pixel wide by 2 pixel high rectangle, just touching the side of the icon area. Then if we get the direct selection tool and just draw out a marquee selection to select these 2 rightmost points, and we'll do something that we've done a lot before in other icon speedruns. We'll just grab the scale tool and manipulate both of these points at the same time in kind of mirrored editing. And I'm just going to drag the bottom point just down 1 pixel. So as you can see, this is mirrored editing. We just want it to be like that, so it gives us a nice tapered shape. Then from here, if we change back to the direct selection tool, we can grab the corner widget and drag it all the way until the line segment becomes thicker, and it tells us that's the maximum corner radius. And now for the next trick, with the direct selection tool still selected, we can actually drag out a marquee selection that selects some points on both of these shapes. It doesn't really matter which points they are. And we can grab the Pathfinder panel and click Unite. And because we have some points from both shapes selected, this will actually work. You don't need to go back to the selection tool and select all the points. So it's another shortcut when you're trying to work quickly. So we'll just click Unite in the Pathfinder panel, drag this back. This is now one entire shape. And from here, we can drag out another marquee selection just to grab these 2 inner points. And I just like this icon having a little bit of a rounded shape here. So if you grab the corner widget and pull it out just a touch, then we end up with that shape. And from here, if you click the center of the shape with the direct selection tool, that'll select all of the points. And then what we can do is grab the rotate tool and just click the very center of the icon area to set the origin for the rotation to be the center of the icon area. And from here, if we drag, it'll look like this, which is pretty cool. And while you're dragging it around, if you hold down Option, it'll create a copy, and Shift will constrain. So in this instance, I've got it set up to constrain to 45 degrees. We just want to drag it around so you end up with another copy down here. And then we can create the next copy by just transforming again. So Object, Transform, Transform again. And now what we have to do is invert this piece. So we end up with the shape going in like that. So the way to do that is to get the direct selection tool again, or direct selection tool, and just click the center of this shape down the bottom. And one way we can invert this is by holding down Shift and just deselecting this top point. And from here, if we manipulate these points, they'll all move except for this center point that we just deselected. So that turns out to be exactly what we're after to invert this shape. So if you just drag this corner point all the way up so it snaps to the corner point up here, you'll end up with this inverted shape. And now all we need to do is just create the bottom version of this. So if you click just anywhere inside the shape, that will select all the points. So this center point is now selected again. And we can go back to the rotate tool, click the center of the icon area again, because that's what we want to be the origin, and then drag on the canvas, hold down Option so it's a copy, and Shift again to make the constraining easier. So that's it. That's the final icon. There is obviously one thing about this icon. It's probably not great in terms of a production asset. You know, it's all made out of pieces. So really the solution to that would be to then select everything and open up the Pathfinder panel again and just click Unite, and that'll create one single path for the entire shape. That's a far better icon for production.